Hey guys, thanks for tuning back into the channel. Xtool Creative Space is an incredible tool for beginners, offering precision, versatility, and endless possibilities. But if you're new to Xtool, you might be making some common mistakes that can lead to frustration. Today we're going to go over some of the top beginner mistakes and how to avoid them. And I'm going to talk about some of the mistakes I made when I first started my laser engraving process. When you're starting out, it's tempting to just dive into elaborate projects, but a complex design can quickly become a headache. Fine details may not cut or engrave well, leading to a waste of time and materials. Here on this Xtool document, I have a picture that I found on Google of somebody that tried to make an image of a family member on a piece of wood. As you can see, they didn't do it dark enough, and now, unless they can go back and engrave over it, they won't be able to reuse this piece of wood. Instead of starting with something like this that's going to be tough to engrave, begin with a simple design and gradually increase the complexity as you master Xtool Creative Space settings and materials. Simplicity is key. One thing I would recommend is start off by engraving some images over here on the left sidebar. So if you'll come over to Shapes, and you can scroll down, and there are some nice dark images that you can use to practice on. And I would never practice to start off with on an expensive piece of material. Get some small basswood slabs that are really thin and learn to cut, engrave, and score them. And that leads us to mistake number 2, neglecting the material settings. So not all materials are created equally. Choosing the wrong material can lead to warping, cracking, or even poor quality. Make sure you're using Xtool compatible materials and adjust your settings accordingly. Research and testing on your materials can save you a ton of frustration. If you have something plastic that you might want to engrave, it would be good to look into it first online before you start engraving, because plastics, for instance, melt. A good way to know whether a material is okay or not to use on your engraver is come up to this Unknown Materials tab. Once you click on that, there's a bunch of different materials that Xtool recommends that you can use. Once you click on whatever material you want to use, such as 3mm plywood, and click Confirm, it will show you the recommended speed and power to score, engrave, and to cut an image on that piece of plywood. So here you can see the recommended is 15 millimeters per second at 60% power, and that will give you a good dark score on a piece of cherry plywood. So you want to be careful when you're engraving items to make sure that they're engraver safe and that they won't melt or create a fire. So you always need to remember that safety's first. These engravers use high-powered lasers, and without the proper precautions, you might risk inhaling harmful fumes, damaging your eyes, or even a fire hazard. So here's an example of some glasses that you could use on your engraver to help you not damage your eyes. They are Xtool approved and safe so that you can look at the laser, but it's still not recommended. Usually a pair of these types of glasses are given in a new Xtool engraver that you buy. And if you're in an area that's not well ventilated, you may need to look into buying a fan or do it outside or near an area with a window. That way the air can circulate and you're not inhaling all the fumes. Here's some more quick tips of things that I had to learn myself before starting. So now I have an image on my blank document and I want to zoom in to make it bigger. Once I zoom in, you see how it's going over to the right, and there's no way that I can move my screen enough to see it. I could always move the image, but in this scenario I want to move the screen. So if I come down to the bottom left corner and use this hand tool or grabber tool, I can grab the page and center the image on my page, then go back to the select tool and select the image and begin engraving. Another thing to remember when you're first starting out is this red cross, or it could be a dot, is offset. So you see the bottom of the laser will start right here and go down, but the crosshairs are offset. So when I first started, I don't know why I thought that the crosshairs were incorrectly placed, but the first engraving that I used, I lined it up with the center of the module head rather than the center of the crosshairs. So I learned pretty quickly that I was doing it incorrectly. But that's just a tip, so that's something that you won't have to worry about. Another thing to remember, and I learned this the hard way too, when you have a tumbler that you're about to engrave, first off, make sure that on the top here, on the processing mode, that you're using whatever attachment that you have. I currently have a roller and a chuck tool, so I use those quite a bit. But when your roller is on your table, make sure that you know which way that the tumbler is facing. For instance here, as you can see, it's A, B, C, and Xtool, so that's facing towards me, so the tumbler is facing towards the right. So that way when you go to process, you'll have to come down on the left-hand origin point. So then the new top of your engraving will be on this right-hand side. So if I do the right-hand center, that will be right here on the top center of my tumbler. If I do the normal center, then it'll start the engraving on the middle left side of the image. So you got to remember that the tumbler is facing towards the motor of the rotary attachment. I hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe for some more Xtool tips, tutorials, and inspirational videos. If you have some other common mistakes or want to share some best practices, please feel free to put them down in the comment section and I'll get to them as quick as possible. I love to hear what you guys have to say, and I try to respond to everybody. So keep creating and happy engraving.